Hey guys, welcome to my journey. The tool that we are going to look at today is called Mermaid Js. It's a pretty cool name. What it do is it will enable you to make a sequence diagram very simple. You don't need to draw boxes and arrows to each box and give titles and work with all weird shapes. You just have to write it in a markup language, all the sequence of steps what you have in mind, and bam, you have your png formatted sequence diagram beautifully outlined there. So and also it's very super easy to edit because it's almost just look like a html, where whatever that is need to represent in a sequence diagram, you will write it in a sequence of steps like a markup language. So without any further ado, let's look at the tool. This is the Mermaid Js tool homepage that I was talking about. So in this GitHub page, they have a nice description of what it is and its capabilities. It's an open source project, so it won many awards, as you can see, and you can use it freely without any issues. So it has nice examples. So it can not only do sequence diagrams, it can do graph diagrams, and it can do also sequence diagrams. It can do Gantt charts, it can do class diagrams, and also it can do state diagrams like this, pie charts, and a user journey. So it has a lot of cool features. If you want to look at it, go ahead. The link is in the description to the GitHub homepage. So go ahead and explore this if you wanted to, but in this video we only going to look at live editor. So this is a live editor page of a sequence diagram, and this is the diagram that we wanted to do a live example in this video. Let me first give you a quick tour of this live editor. Here is where you write the markup language, and the corresponding diagram will show up here as you code up. And then you have a sample diagrams for each kind of chart: flow chart, sequence diagram, class diagram, and also you have your actions here, where after you wrote your sequence diagram, you can copy your image to clipboard, or you can save a nice png or svg, or you can even get a link that contains this png image, which is a shareable link, and then you can share it with whoever you want. And also same thing with svg, you can get a shareable link of an svg. So we saw the live editor. Now let's look at a simple examples and syntaxes on how to use that live editor to get a beautiful sequence diagrams. So this is a simple diagram where it displays with a simple markup language how can you get a sequence diagram. So let's see the syntax, important parts of the syntax. So you will have your participants Alice and Bob. So this is how you represent an interaction. You say participant 1 and participant 2, and then you in between you write a arrow that represent which kind of arrow you want, and then you say colon, and then you say message, hi Bob. Then again the next sequence would be like Bob participant to Alice participant with some arrow, and then with colon and some message. So let's see how this works in action. So I'm copying this and putting it in our live editor. So yeah, this is how it is. So there are different other features as well. Let's look at them. So you can use actors as well. It looks like this. Instead of saying just participants, you can have as many participants as you want, as many actors you want. And you can use aliases for the participants as well, but I don't generally prefer them. Also you can use different kind of lines from to represent the action from one participant to another participant. Typically we use this for a solid arrow, right? From participant Alice to John to say this message. But you can use a solid arrow with a solid line without an arrow, a dotted line, a solid with arrowhead, a dotted line with arrowhead, and so on and so forth. There are many examples here. So the important part that we're going to look in the example involves blocks. So block is where it represents a block in a larger sequence diagram. So here what we do is we say Alice to John, and the message is hello John, how are you? And we start a block here where we say, when we say activate John, it will start a block here. And then from John participant to Alice participant, we say great. And then we deactivate John. That means in the John sequence, the block is ended. This is very crucial in our diagram, because in general we see when between two participants the interaction started and when it is ended. It gives us a clear picture of how an interaction started and how an interaction ended. If you see there is a dotted line, to use dotted line you need to use double hyphens and then double arrows. So you can use a short syntax for this as well. That is, instead of doing activate John and deactivate John, you can say plus after the arrow which starts the block on John part, and then minus when we wanted to end this block, which ends the block that is already started. So, and let's see other examples as well. So this is how you can use a block inside of a block. And there is a feature of notes as well. So you can write note over two participants. You just say note over and which participants you want to write note over and colon and what is the note. So this is typically will be useful to represent something that is a black box, something that you don't want to explain or that don't involve in this sequence diagram. Also, another cool feature is loop. When there is something happening over two participants over and over again, you can use a loop. So this is also simple. You say loop and what is the loop name, what's happening in this loop, and what are the steps that is happening in the loop. In here, in every minute, John participant is saying to Alice participant, great. So that's how loop works. So there are other features, alternate, how you represent an alternate steps, how you represent a parallel steps in the sequence diagram, and how it looks combinedly, and how you can do a background highlighting, how you can use comments in this, how you can use different other than non-alphabetic characters and emojis and all. So that we are not going to look at, but we looked enough basics to start our live example. Now let's see a real life example of how to use sequence diagrams. So I started a sequence diagram here with a keyword sequence diagram, and then I've listed 5 participants. So one is browser, which is like a customer, then front-end service, auth service, inventory, and order service. So this is a typical interaction. This sequence diagram represents a typical interaction that happens when you go to a e-commerce site and you want to order a shirt, right? So let's represent that. This auto number word will be used to number your request. So it will be easier when you want to explain to somebody, hey, look at request number 5, this is happening here, then this is happening here, something like that. So it will number your requests beautifully. Then a typical flow starts when you or the first thing you do is login, right? So that's what we represent here. So browser send a request to front end and say login. So that's how it comes up here. Then we start a block. You see we started block here with plus. Then front end goes to auth service and say verify this user. And then auth service generally comes up, let's say it is a success response. So we write participant auth service to front end that it is a success response. We also started a block in here and we ended here. And also after that, from front end to browser, you see a return auth token that will be used in further requests to authenticate himself. So that's how a block ended here. 2 blocks ended here. And then you have the main action. So once you logged in, what you say from browser to front end, you say order this shirt, I want this shirt. So, and we started a block here from browser to front end. Then front end goes to inventory service and say order this shirt. So, and then inventory, what it will do in microservice architecture, every service, when it got a request, it will try to authenticate it with auth service. So it will go to auth service and say, hey, let's verify this request, whether this user has a valid credentials or not. So after ordering shirt, it will go to auth service back, and auth service says yes, this is a valid request. That's what we represented here. From inventory to auth service, we get a success response. So Then inventory, what it will do is, we represented in a loop here is, from inventory to inventory, because it is happening within inventory. What inventory is doing is it is checking whether the shirt is actually available or not. Oftentimes what it happens is when you click order, the shirt might be available, but by the time the request go to inventory service, actually it might not be available. So that's we are representing here. It's a real-time check of whether the shirt is actually available in the store or not. Then we started a loop, saying inventory check from inventory to inventory, and we say loop, and so loop ends here. So once the shirt is available, what inventory do is it will send a request to order service that we represented here, and it say place this order for the shirt. So what order service do is it deals with payment gateways and order delivering the stuff to your place. So the order service actually go to again auth service to first verify this request. Then we say we write this, then auth service successful return a successful response, and then we again start a loop for the payment process. The next step is payment once the to actually order the shirt. So in the payment process, we again started a loop from browser to order service to browser. Order service initiates the payments. So generally payments happen outside of the application using a third-party payment gateway. That's why we wanted to put it in a black box inside of a loop between order service and browser. So we say payment started. So in this box we say note over order service and browser, so that this is where it is represented, payment gateway charging user. So this is happening outside of scope of our application. So we say that in a note because we don't know what it is happening. It's like black box to us. So then from browser to order service, the payment is completed. Once order service got a confirm, then we end the loop of this payment process. Once the order service actually receives a payment complete notification, it says to inventory that yes, the order payment is completed, order is placed. Then inventory goes back to front end and says the order is placed. Then the front end goes to browser and says the order is placed. And then you see we closed all the blocks, whatever we started in the end. Whatever we started, we ended here. So this is a real life example of how you can use a Mermaid Js to make your life very simple to write the sequence diagrams. So I put this code in the description. You can use it, you can try different things out. Also you have beautiful tutorials in this page. I have given this tutorials page link in the description as well. Please go through it. It has live editors, it has YouTube tutorials, and it have code pen examples. Also it has beautiful examples of how you can integrate it with Python. So yeah, I hope you find it useful and you enjoyed this video. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.